Get in the car, we're driving to Georgia. We're gonna see the Granite Museum. Alberton, the granite capital of the world. Established in 1981.
A few months ago, we finally got the chance to stop by the Georgia Guidestones in Elbert County, Georgia, not very far outside of Atlanta. It's really not as big as I thought it would be. And even though it wasn't as big as I had imagined it, it was still pretty overwhelming to see in person. After all the new 10 commandments and the overall message towards population reduction and a new age of reason where humanity is in balance with nature is pretty overwhelming. The first of these so-called commandments is enough to give you chills. It reads, maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. And then it talks about guiding reproduction, uniting humanity with a new living language.
Some of these things on this list have already happened if you really think about it, because uniting humanity with a living new language, that's the internet.
And even though several of the messages in the middle really aren't as controversial, they're just kind of general and nice sounding. It also has a solid eugenics message talking about guiding reproduction, balancing personal rights with social duties, by which they especially mean that people cannot reproduce as much as they want.
The world population that has risen geometrically to almost 6 billion people and could easily exceed 8 billion.
Searching for a new enemy to unite us, we came up with the idea that pollution, global warming, water shortages, famine, and the like would fit the bill.
An alarming and possibly catastrophic disaster.
And it closes out with another chilling line, be not a cancer on the earth, leave room for nature. Leave room for nature. Many people outside the Guidestones monument, but there were a few. One lady said to the other, did you read the inscription over here? It's not necessarily a bad thing. You could agree with a lot of the things written on there. Some of them are very blasé. I myself definitely agree that we don't need petty officials and petty laws, but I don't know who could get behind only 500 million people on the planet. I would hate to have it on my conscience to even suggest, much less decide, who lives or dies. To wish death upon 9/10 of the planet is incredibly bad karma, and I don't see how you could say that's anything but evil. Now all that's enough to take in, especially if it's the first time you've come across it. And Melissa and I saw it, and we looked all around it. But after seeing a video in 2014 about the new cube that had been put into the little bitty slot above the English tablet, it became pretty clear that there's some kind of code, a coded message, and a puzzle solution to this bizarre esoteric monument that has not really been fully appreciated.
Somebody went to the Guidestones and there's been a change. A new block has been inserted in the corner. This was a picture that was taken before, and you can even see where the little niche mark was for that square to be cut out.
Watch out. Got something on every side.
It's crazy how it fit perfect in there.
Who wants a chip? The original piece. Oh, okay.
Oh, can I have that piece?
And a lot of people who did see this cube tried to decipher the numbers and came up with dates and stuff. And it's good that they tried to decode it, but none of those dates ended up being of any particular significance. But if you look around at the monument and all the things that are written and the tablet that is next to the stones, that supposedly covers up the time capsule, well, you notice that they specifically don't say when the time capsule. Well, right there could be the question and answer of this unannounced puzzle.
One of the conspiracies around this monument is that once the date is filled in, it's going to release a bioweapon. That comes from the fact that it's very obviously a monument complaining about overpopulation.
Has anybody seen Contagion? That's the answer. Go out and use genetic engineering to create a better virus.
Contagious and highly deadly, a respiratory spread pathogen would kill more than 30 million people in less than a year.
We got to stabilize population on a voluntary basis. Everybody in the world's got to pledge to themselves that 1 or 2 children is it.
Perhaps, just perhaps, all the numbers and all the data needed to solve the puzzle are in place at this location. After all, there's charts and diagrams explaining the exact overall height, 19 feet 3 inches, the height of the upright stones, 16 foot 4 inches, the width of the stones, 6 foot 6 inches, the dimensions of the capstone, which is 1 foot 7 inches tall, with a width of 9 foot 8 inches, with a width of 6 foot 6 inches, and a length of 9 foot 8 inches, as well as the width of the main upright stones, which is also 6 foot 6 inches, and so forth. On top of that, you have the admitted fact that's pointed out in the tablet that the Georgia Guidestones are in alignment with several celestial features.
It has the astronomical features. So the channel through the stone indicates the celestial pole. The horizontal slot indicates the annual travel of the sun. And the sunbeam through the capstone marks noontime throughout the year.
It's in alignment with the 18.6-year lunar declination cycle and so forth. And of course, it features 8 languages that have written out the message and 4 ancient languages, which are referred to on the capstone, making for a total of 12 languages.
This is interesting here. The author, R.C. Christian, a lot of people have mentioned, and I believe rightly so, that that's a nod to the Rosicrucians, or the Rosy Cross Christian, the Rosencreutz. But also, they put a pseudonym. They don't pay all this money to erect this thing that's perfectly aligned celestially with all this physical data and spell something wrong. If you take all of these letters, the one thing I did see that I thought was kind of interesting, it's an anagram for untarnished conspiracy. What are the odds of that?
How strange is that?
If this is a puzzle, which it appears to be, by use of the fact that there's a key, then we know that anagrams are part of it, which is a very Masonic thing, because you don't spend all this money and effort to erect this very technically precise and expensive monument just to make an obvious misspelling on it.
And since we already have this clue of R.C. Christian, a pseudonym, spelled wrong with an N instead of an M at the end, that can be arranged to spell untarnished conspiracy, it's a pretty big hint that there may be some other anagrams, either in the message itself or in the names of the languages used on the stones, and or having to do with the dates and numbers given for the physical data of the size, weight, dimensions of the Georgia Guidestones itself. Somewhere in here there's a puzzle, people. I don't know if I'm smart enough to figure it out, but maybe someone out there is. Or maybe with the use of a computer, they could run anagram after anagram and number after number in every conceivable permutation. I don't know, but I'm suspicious that it could be the case.
The point is, we know anagrams are part of what has to be used to solve this very Masonic puzzle.
And some people who only want to see on the surface will say, no, it's not a puzzle. It's not yet another conspiracy buried within a conspiracy. It's simply a mysterious monument with the message it has that has to do with eugenics, world population, and breeding. But I think there's more to it. And interestingly, there have been some vandals and graffiti artists who tried to break open the tablet and reveal the time capsule. They didn't get far enough to find out what, if anything, is there.
I thought it was interesting, too, that somebody has actually drawn all over these monuments and they've written things like, I am the light, we are all free. People aren't accepting this.
Yeah, somebody tried to dig this up with a tire jack from their car, basically. But there it is, the Georgia Guidestones. Yeah. But if there is a code, maybe it reveals something about whether or not that's the actual correct location, how far you have to dig, what to expect, or what, if anything, are the significance of the missing dates for placing and opening the time capsule. The whole 2014 affair with this mysterious cube is just as interesting. Outwardly, an explanation came forward that it was just a couple being married and they put their initials on it and the date of their marriage, and that's all it was, and they weren't authorized to do so, and they shouldn't have, and then it was removed and destroyed. But at the same time, it's very convenient that in this precisely constructed monument, where there was no room to make mistakes, you keep seeing these conspicuous misspellings of the word pseudonym. A notch in the top of the pillar where there's no notch in the other pillars. What's the purpose of it? Is there meant to be a cube placed in this notch which contains the solution to the puzzle which is inherent in this site? A puzzle which seemingly would have to do with the dates of the time capsule and maybe something about an important date in the future. The only way it really makes sense is as a possible solution to the mystery of these stones. Some kind of puzzle that has both a numeric and an alphabetic solution to it. It brings to mind another interesting mystery which still hasn't been solved, which is open